In this video, I'm going to focus on Klint Kubiak'S usage of 12 personnel as a control feature, a design element, a way to attack base defenses, and then also, thirdly, a way that Sam Darnold can sometimes throw against defenders that are not as adept at dealing with one-on-one pass coverage situations in terms of inside linebackers, edge defenders, specifically when things break down. Kubiak'S using a lot of 12 personnel, obviously. Give you one case of 13 personnel here, and then a 22 grouping touchdown by Zach Charbonnet that makes it 14-3. Now, we'll have a video at some point either this weekend or Monday on JSN, a season-long focus. I believe he's at 26 catches on 34 targets right now, 76% efficiency rating in terms of catch percentage, and including the 22-yard catch in the fourth quarter when he gets out of bounds, has the ball touch the ground before his body does, really sets up the game-winning field goal for Myers because Seattle was able to retain that timeout. This is going to be a different video, this one that I'm presenting now. It's not focused on a player. This is a possession-style piece of content. We'll look at the second and fifth drives where Seattle takes a 7-3 lead and then makes it 14-3. In between, unfortunately, they wasted the fourth drive, right? After the interception by Ernest Jones IV, you get the unfortunate penalty on Kenneth Walker III. So we're going to focus on personnel groups and formations that I believe Kubiak is using to exploit these base defenses in very specific ways. Second possession, first snap of that drive, in fact, and this was all 12 personnel. In my charting during the game on Thursday, I had mistakenly called one of these an 11 personnel group. So this is pro slot, meaning one of the tight ends, Barner, is on the line. The other tight end, Arroyo, is off, and he's, of course, going to go in motion. There's a run fake attached to this that we'll show you in a moment, but Arroyo is going to basically block the edge defender briefly and then slip out into the flats. Cooper Kupp is running a clear-out route that's going to occupy this corner, basically removing him as a possible defender on Arroyo in the flats. The tight ends are a part of the immediate part of the attack here, which I think is a huge focus for Kubiak. The same time the run action is occurring with Darnold presenting the football to Kenneth Walker III, that clearly holds this inside linebacker. At the same time that's occurring, Arroyo is chipping for a moment, and I think Kubiak is really confounding these two high safety looks. I expect to see more one high safety looks in the future, and not necessarily to just stop the run. I think it'll be to match up with these tight ends. Arizona tried to do it in this game. Oftentimes it was too simplistic, their manner of doing so. I think this is a great duo, Arroyo and Barner. And to me, Kubiak seems to be setting them up in the right place at the right time, meaning their usage is appropriate for their individual skills, particularly in goal line and short yardage situations. Arroyo across the field, and you can see this inside linebacker steps with the play fake to Walker, the run action. So not only do you have run-pass conflict, but it's horizontal in nature with Walker as a possible run threat to the right, and then Darnold booting out to the left. You can see it's a slight block on the edge defender with Arroyo, and then he slides past him. It's really easy work, the manipulation. That's Kupp holding or occupying the corner. Inside linebacker trying to recover. He can't get there. He's got the horizontal conflict. It's all, I think, exactly what you envisioned or hoped for from a Kubiak offense. Occupy people visually and then exploit that in the opposite direction. The run pass and the horizontal conflict is all matched up perfectly. I'll try to illustrate the hash in every iteration of these plays, and we're going to go through the entire second and fifth possession, so this will probably be a pretty long video. I have a really busy weekend. This may be the only Seahawks-related content that is able to get out over the weekend. So very next play, I call it flex up, and you'll see this formation twice in this video. So the two tight ends are on the line of scrimmage, and the two wide receivers are off. So the motion possibilities are more so for the receivers. And it's pin, pull, toss into the boundary. Two times with this formation is the same exact play. It's the base defense for Arizona, meaning you've got your 3 down linemen, 2 outside linebackers, and then your 2 inside linebackers, so a 3-4 structure. Pin, pull, toss. Really nice job, man, by JSN. It's almost like a combo. He's got a corner, Max Melton, in his face, who he initially gets hands on, and then he gets the front side inside linebacker. We're talking about what's happening here. So it's almost like a 2-for-1 in that he's taking out the corner or occupying the corner, and he's blocking the inside linebacker. You can see the left tackle, Charles Cross, out in space. Kenneth Walker, who, I think received some criticism for some of his reactions to poor blocking schemes, and I do think that, maybe sometimes he retreats and gives ground that he shouldn't. But I love the physical brand of football that him and Charbonnet are playing. It's also very intricate from a design standpoint for what Kubiak is doing. This is quite simple as well. Look at the angle that the tight end has on the edge defender. So he's just going to block down the pin nature. And then that allows Cross to step outside, lead the way for Walker. I like getting Walker to the outside by design. He seems to want to go there anyway, right? That's been something that's been in his game for a long time. I do want to talk about Bradford and how refereeing situations work. Refs watch film too, and so this, to me, could easily be called a hold. It's a cool technique, don't get me wrong, where he's kind of grabbing and then going underneath to go cut off the same guy. He doesn't have to really do much. He's just trying to make sure that that player that he's able to block isn't able to pursue Walker. But the way that he does it, in the future, I could see it being called a hold. He grabs the guy and then whips him around. It's a really cool concept, if you ask me, that, like I said, you'll see twice in this video. Kubiak knows what he's doing at a 12 personnel because he's oftentimes taking advantage of the NFL edge defender's inability to adjust their alignment with a slot or a split tight end. I think that previous play is the one that I charted incorrectly in my game charting Thursday. I mistakenly had it as 11 personnel. This one's obviously 12. Kubiak's really switching formations here and giving Arizona questions that they are not often asked. And what I mean is you've got two tight ends up into the boundary along with a receiver. So 3 into the boundary from a base personnel standpoint is a really unique thing. It's a run concept to Walker, and he's going to cross the quarterback's face and get out to the field to the wide side. I think it's a really nice job by Lucas, the right tackle. 6-1 look by Arizona, and then they kind of add Baker to the front, Budda Baker, the safety, who moves all around. But when they're in their base defensive look, it's a little bit less adaptable or less versatile in terms of what they ask him to do and what he can actually get accomplished. So here's the block by Lucas down on the bottom side, kind of controlling the edge defender enough that Walker can bring this run play back to the outside and bounce it. In addition, Kupp is angling for Baker, the field side safety, who was kind of rolled down. Kupp can't get there, and neither can Baker. In fact, Walker bounces it outside on a 2nd and 1. Huge gain. Like I said, you can tell that he definitely likes to bounce things outside. I like getting him outside by design. This is manipulation. So you've got 1 Mike linebacker and then 4 down. So really, from the standpoint of a personnel look, this is a 6-1 out of a 4-3 structure, but Zaven Collins is not an inside linebacker. So really, all that Arizona's done is they've dropped down one of their inside linebackers to be that additional edge defender in a 6-1 look. Really isolates the Mike. I'm not a huge fan of these looks with the level of players that I coached, nor do I think that it's tremendously productive or effective at the NFL level. Puts a lot of stress on that lone inside linebacker. Do want to talk about offensive line for a moment. Zabel is so quick with his feet. And he's able to just step here. Look how quick his feet are down. I mean, Zabel's right foot is down, and Darnold hasn't even caught the ball. I mean, he is incredibly quick. And then his second foot is down, and the defender is still in the air. I'm talking about the guy that he's blocking. So he's able to cut that guy off. We're talking about right here, such that it at least gives Walker some options. We know that this is the path Walker goes on. It's also, like I said, covered from the All-22 angle. Really nice job by Lucas sealing that defender off, and I think you get a 21-yard gain. Seattle's offense was off and rolling early, and it was all from a 12 personnel standpoint. Motion here is going to create probably my favorite formation that Kubiak is using so far out of 12 personnel. It's a 1st and 10, and it's ace. I call it ace when there's 2 tight ends, 1 to the right, 1 to the left, and the running back is the lone setback. Arizona is really mixing and matching their look here. They're trying to find something that works. So now they're in a 5-1 structure with their 3 safeties. So they're switching personnel groups because what they're doing so far is just not working. It's a balanced formation, right? Tight end receiver to the right, tight end receiver to the left. And you get a run scheme to the top side of our screen. Bradford is trying to take over the nose tackle. He actually does it. You know, you do have the obviously possibility of a boot here that could hold or occupy this edge defender on the backside. Walker kind of scoots through here on a little hesitation. Really nice run that I think exhibits some patience and his ability to get downhill when the scheme asks for it. Tight ends on the right and the left. Again, a stacked Mike linebacker, but you do have the safety. Baker kind of walking down. In this case, he walks down to the wrong side. The Cardinals, I don't know if I want to say have you used the word guess, but they've allotted Baker in the wrong way. So let's talk about Bradford and Sundell, how this is working. You got a nose tackle over top of Sundell. He's kind of stabbing him for a moment, and then he's working up to the Mike linebacker, number 2. At the same time, Bradford is stepping and taking this like wide path to take over the nose tackle. And it doesn't look good at first, and then the nose tackle kind of jumps back to the inside, and Bradford does a really nice job of stabbing him with his right arm and just holding that lane for Walker to cut through. Really nice job. I think Bradford is, clearly one of the least athletic guys that they have on the offensive line right now, but a nice job of illustrating, or that play by him does a nice job of illustrating what he can get done in an outside zone or off-tackle run scheme. Again, from my favorite formation, ace under center after the 8-yard run by Walker. And you can see that the Cardinals are in that same 5-1 look with their 3 safeties. Typically when they do that, they'll have the corners up on the line, jamming or pressing the number 1 receiver. So you've got JSN to the top side, Kupp to the bottom. It's going to be a play action. Really nothing gets accomplished here. But do want to talk about the way that they're using one of these safeties now to kind of pin down on the run action. I wonder if he's reading the back or if he's inserting here because of the tight end going opposite. But in any case, it's a play action, not really effective. You do have the possibility of 2 deeper routes here. I think that Kubiak is going to play action early and often out of 12 personnel group. To me, he's created a really high number of explosive plays in the pass game, particularly out of 12 personnel. I think you're going to see this 12 personnel every single week in terms of the ace formation, meaning it's balanced, it's 2x2, and it forces the defense to kind of stay balanced as well. So moving forward, the very next snap, 3rd and 2, 12 personnel. The 2 tight ends are down here to the bottom side of the screen. And then up to the top is where you've got JSN and Kupp, and that's where the ball is going to go. It's a snag concept. Kupp on the little snag or angled hook, and then JSN immediately out into the flats. It's an empty set. I like the motion to the tight end. So you're almost creating the pass strength here to the 2 tight ends when really we all know that the pass strength is actually up there. So from a formation standpoint, there's some real manipulation if you ask me. And this Mike linebacker is dropping out. Well, this second level dropper from a pass coverage standpoint. It's a Tampa 2. Okay, so this is the Mike dropper in a Tampa 2. Half field defender, flats. Let me get some of this off the screen. My apologies, probably too much on the screen for you guys. Flat defender, Mike linebacker running the pipe between the hashes, hook to curl, or really just hook defender, and then your 2 deep safeties. But because Arizona was mugged up with number 2, who positionally I think is an inside linebacker, he's not able to get there. So again, the pass strength is down here if you were to declare the pass strength. Now this is a mirrored coverage, a Tampa 2, but because this guy's mugged up, he's not able to get to the side where there actually are the 2 most dangerous receivers for the Seahawks. It created really a 2-on-1 situation, just too easy, in my opinion, on the backside of an empty set. 1st and 10, we know this is going to be the touchdown to Barner. Again, 12 personnel ace, 1 tight end to the right, 1 tight end to the left. In this case, they brought Saubert in. You're going to motion out, and then Charbonnet is going to get into the flats. Kupp kind of runs a little in cut at like 8 to 10. So you get an absolute one-on-one with Barner and an inside linebacker because you've got a safety in the middle of the field who's, not really able to help out with anything. From a coverage standpoint, to me, this really looks like man-free with a 5-man rush. Darnold knows exactly where he's going with this. Easy throw. Easy play, really. So much separation for Barner to make it 7-3. End zone angle, you'll get an idea. There's some communication going on between Baker, the Mike, and the Will. And then when the motion occurs by Charbonnet, they kind of switch it. So Baker, I think, is going to take over the running back. The Mike is going to take over the tight end. And Darnold knows that that's leaving this as a complete one-on-one. And that's in Seattle's favor. They've got a lot of advantages with these 12 personnel, 13 personnel groups. I would expect to see 13 personnel against the Bucs, to be honest with you. The Bucs are heavily reliant on man-to-man, and this looks like a good setup for Barner, Arroyo, and others to possibly have a big day. 16-yard touchdown. I think the 7th play in a row with her operating out of a 2 tight end set. This seems to be a dynamic that's occurring a lot across the NFL. 12 personnel with tight ends who can go catch the football and can be involved in the run game as well. I think it's interesting to note that certain weeks you're going to see the fullback on the field a lot, and certain weeks, you probably will not. That'll depend on matchup. So let's move to the 5th possession. Of course, we know, like I said in the lead-in, wasted a great scoring opportunity on the 4th possession, and it nearly came back to haunt the Seahawks. There was a lot of missed opportunities, in my opinion. I'm talking about globally for the whole team, to really create more separation than just a 17-3 lead in the 3rd quarter. So a lot of heavy personnel groups here, and this first play, I think, illustrates a unique advantage or perhaps a hidden trick that Kubiak and Darnold are pulling on the defense. It's a 3-4 base, and Baker's kind of rolled to the field against, once again, ace formation, with this wide receiver split out a little bit wider than some of the earlier iterations. There's the concept that you're getting. It's essentially mirrored. Tight ends running out into the flats, high side flats, and then angled hook at 8 or 10 by the outside wide receivers. Straight drop back by Darnold. I did think there was like 2 times where his steps looked a half a beat off, but this one's really nice and clean. 5-step drop, in fact, and he's looking to his right into the boundary where you've got Arroyo and then JSN. For whatever reason, he doesn't want to get the ball to JSN. There's certainly really good coverage here. It looks like he tries to come back to the bottom side, and there appears to be a little bit of interior pressure, rolls out, and he identifies that, hey, he's got a really nice matchup. He's got Sweat, who's a talented edge rusher, but not in coverage. And so he's giving Arroyo an opportunity to make a play, and it goes for 32 yards. Sick play, if you ask me, that I think really gives you an idea of an added benefit to facing so many base personnel defenses, is that if a defense is going to drop someone out in coverage, an outside linebacker or even inside linebacker, those guys are not as capable of making plays on the ball in those jump ball or 50-50 situations. As an aside, I think Arroyo has 5 catches for 83 yards now on the year, including 3 first downs. Arizona's going to blitz this inside linebacker, and the trickle-down effect that has is that Sweat drops out in coverage. This is the end zone angle, the same play, by the way. Straight drop back, which is really cool to see. Watch Zabel pick up this inside linebacker on the blitz. So Zabel initially steps to the defensive tackle because it looks like Cross is stepping here, Zabel is stepping here, and the outside linebacker doesn't defend. He actually goes with the tight end as well. Inside linebacker blitzes. Zabel takes him over, and Charbonnet gets involved as well. Darnold escapes. Really nice job of throwing on the run so far this year, in my opinion. He's got the right pace on the ball, the right trajectory, and Arroyo is high pointing it. A really great play that illustrates, how talented the rookie is and how much trust Darnold obviously has in him. Another one of my favorite formations out of 12 personnel. This one is twin wing. So you've got 2 tight ends up to the boundary, the top side of our screen, and then the pass strength in the form of JSN and Cooper Kupp. That's why Baker is rolled over there a little bit to kind of match the numbers. It's going to be a play-action flood concept. I can't really draw some of these routes precisely because I only have so much screen to deal with down here at the bottom. But Kupp is running the underneath out. JSN's route, he's actually going to kind of bend it a little bit more towards the sideline once he gets deeper down the field. And then I think you've got Barner running from the top side, being the intermediate or third option here on the play action. Fake toss to Charbonnet, again, into the boundary. And watch what happens the way the defense gets separated. So, of course, the read where Darnold is looking is down here. The edge defender is occupied by the tight end who cut across. Not Barner, but the other tight end. And it's a really nice job, I think, of Arizona covering these routes up. But look how many players they had to use to do it. You have 7 guys down here on the bottom side of the screen. 6 guys, excuse me. And then 5 up here. So one group basically defending the run action. Another group responding to the play action opposite of it. And then Darnold splits in between the middle. 24-yard gain. I'm shocked at how easy some of these things are to get accomplished against Arizona's defense. I get it that they have played a good brand of defense under this defensive coordinator, for a year plus. But to hear the announcers constantly praising Arizona's defense while stuff like this was going on was very puzzling to me. Kubiak returns to that flex up formation out of 12 personnel where the tight ends are on the line in Saubert and then Barner. And, of course, it's pin pull toss to the boundary. So the blocking scheme, which maybe I didn't illustrate last time, down block on the edge defender. Lucas is going to get to the outside and lead the way for Charbonnet. Kupp does a really nice job of cutting off the boundary side inside linebacker, and that basically clears that secondary cut for Charbonnet. Key block, if you ask me, like I said, is Kupp on the inside linebacker. Inside linebacker tries to rip underneath, and that just really opens up that outside lane for Charbonnet. I think it goes for 15 or 16. Same play, end zone angle. It's all going to occur here in terms of the point of attack, and that's fine. I've kind of already diagrammed that, but I really want to focus on Zabel's quickness and then the center. Those two guys really work together. The inside linebacker steps opposite for some reason, so it doesn't matter, but Sundell is there to cut him off, and then Zabel goes to get the D tackle, or nose tackle, excuse me. Zabel's steps, once again, are just so quick. And he's able to get out in front of this nose tackle, basically get even with him, even though he's at a huge deficit from an alignment standpoint. That's a zero technique nose, and you're the backside guard. All you've got to do is really interfere with the guy, not grab him like we showed Bradford doing earlier. And then Sundell has got eyes on the mic who stepped opposite for some reason. He's playing the boot, I guess. Because keep in mind, on the previous snap is when Darnold went play action boot and then scrambled for 24. Huge gain, if you ask me. I had thought that, he was just going to stay 12 for pretty much the whole game. And instead, Kubiak goes 11 personnel on the very next snap, gets a really short run gain, I think a gain of 2 or 3. I skipped that 11 personnel run play like I mentioned, and we're now on to the 2nd and 8. 13 personnel. So base defensive structure by Arizona. This is an outside linebacker right here, by the way. Base defensive structure, so 3-4 look. Baker rolled up to the field where the 3 tight ends are located. This is, of course, going to be the DPI on the deep route by Arroyo, which I really can't draw up accurately, like I said, because I've only got so much screen to deal with. Bobo is the backside receiver. I kind of would like to see JSN or Kupp be one of those guys in the 13 personnel group. So don't be so predictable with Bobo being out there, but here you have an opportunity, or an example, I should say, of Kubiak going 13 personnel, but then still throwing the football out of that heavier personnel group. Baker retreating to get under Arroyo. The tight end couldn't release to the flats. He really got kind of jammed up by the edge defender. Zaven Collins is a very underrated guy, if you ask me. So Saubert is trying to pin down on him. Collins gets through the gap and then actually creates a mess of things with Barner and Saubert. So Darnold kind of has to float this thing a little bit more than he would like to. But I still think that Arroyo's got an opportunity to catch the football. Well, the throw puts him in position, to give him an opportunity to catch the football. Baker is interfering, obviously, and so, removes that opportunity or minimizes it. I'm glad that they trust Arroyo. To be honest with you, it would have been a really cool moment to see him get a touchdown on a fantastic player like Budda Baker. There's the route from Arroyo. kind of a fake F counter. So the guard is going to pull and then pass pro, counter step by Charbonnet, and then he's going to pass pro to that side, and that allows Barner to kind of step there and then return to the field, but it gets clogged up, like I said, by Zaven Collins and Saubert. Right here is going to kind of jam up or not allow Barner to get out into the flats. It's an F counter look with Zabel and Barner pulling to the left, and that's why this inside linebacker is pointing to the left, because he's seeing the read. But it's actually play action with Darnold going back out to the field to our right. Really nice throw. I mean, to be retreating and fading away kind of to throw this football and give Arroyo an actual opportunity to catch it, I think is worthy of mention. It is a pass interference that set up a 1st and goal. Even heavier personnel group. If you're new to my channel, I call jumbo when there's a 6th offensive lineman. In this case, you've got a 6th offensive lineman here, 2 actual tight ends in the form of Barner and Arroyo, and then the fullback set up in front of Charbonnet. So jumbo 23 personnel group. Everybody's going to work to the left, kind of like a zone scheme, if you will. Not necessarily, wouldn't necessarily consider it a zone scheme down in short yardage, but in any case, kick out block, and this is the play where Darnold and Bradford's feet kind of get tangled up. I thought that Darnold's steps were a little off. So he's stepping with his left foot now because he's trying to rotate. He's trying to rotate. He's reverse pivoting. So reverse pivoting, think clockwise. He's pivoting this way. His back is going to point at the point of attack. So the ball's going to the left, the downside of our screen. I thought his feet were a little messed up on like 3 plays in this game, and I think this is one where they're a little bit slow. In any case, man, it's the guy who just will not go away, Calais Campbell, 39 years old, I believe, still making plays. He's been around a long time in Baltimore twice, had a huge impact on pretty much every team he's played on, and Arizona is able to hold him to pretty much no gain. 2nd and goal play, another jumbo set. So you have the same 6th offensive lineman here, and it's a I formation. Play action, and the announcers are talking about Darnold possibly being able to get out and scramble for this. I'm not so sure. Yes, Zabel is out there in front, and it looks good. Like, he's quick, and he's very aware and very smart. So you got to think, he's going to deal with someone. I would guess that Zabel, would probably go to this inside linebacker if Darnold was to scramble. But I'm just not so sure that he's going to be able to get away from, I think that's Sweat. Darnold clearly trusts Arroyo right on these designed plays, but even in situations that are somewhat unsettled, because I think the tight ends can make plays, right? We know that. We've seen that in the course of this video and over just the 4 games. But because of who's guarding them at times, I think it really gives Darnold an extra layer, an extra set of confidence to throw the football to those guys when defenders' backs are turned. In any case, 3rd and goal, I really like this formation with the fullback kind of set to the left. I would typically call it lion. 2 tight ends, Barner, Arroyo, and I love the usage. So they're using Barner at the point of attack, and he does a great job here, but Arroyo is kind of kicking out to the flat. So he's just trying to hold defenders to the backside, occupy them, if you will, with the threat of a play-action boot and him running out into the flats. It's a really great job by Barner, man. He controls this. I think it's a linebacker who's lined up as an edge defender. I'll pull it back so you can see it. And the design is young on the cornerback, Max Melton. But let's check out Barner. I think that's an inside linebacker who's lined up at edge. So that really seals this off. Fullback going opposite, Arroyo going opposite. So they're just trying to hold defenders on the backside. And then Charbonnet, you have to just talk about the way he just puts his head down and tries to finish plays off. Melton with a hit, a direct hit. Melton's a really good player. I liked him coming out of Rutgers a couple of years ago. Cross is the guy who was able to help him get across the goal line for a 14-3 lead. There's clearly a lot of design that's being implemented and executed here by the Seahawks, and even in some of the unsettled situations, the slight variations on the play execution, Darnold's doing a great job of still getting the football in a location that guys can make plays. I personally think that you've seen a very small percentage of what the Kubiak offense is going to try to get done in Seattle. Very smart usage of personnel in pretty much every case. There's a tremendous amount of position player talent, right? JSN, Kupp, and Horton, Charbonnet, Walker, the tight ends. Bobo, I think, is a guy who you could get more out of. He's very unique, capable as a blocker. He's got some tough catches on his resume. I think you'll see him used more at certain times if there's a week when a player is down. This is a great setup for Seattle. I'm talking about looking forward to Week 5. You know, the Bucs are 3-0, and I believe they're facing the Eagles on Sunday. So there'll be a result there that, you know, occurs after the recording of this video. Tampa Bay, you know, is a tough, very prepared defense. They'll be physical at the point of attack. They like to play a lot of man-to-man structure. It's a great opportunity for the Seahawks, if you ask me. You know, keep in mind when Seattle plays the Bucs at home in Week 5, that'll be after the 49ers and Rams have already faced off on Thursday Night Football. Huge opportunity to make a statement and possibly get out to 4-1. It'll be a big test, very similar to the Week 1 game against the 49ers. I would say the Bucs brand of defense will be a good barometer for Seattle's offense. How ready are they? And what I do like is the weeks when the run game isn't able to generate as much consistently, Kubiak can find yards, find plays to be made in other ways. In this case, the 12 personnel group, it really, to me, seems to be producing a high percentage of explosive pass plays. And that's clearly the design of it. They got the right guy for the system in Darnold. I do think his footwork was a little off on 3 of the snaps for me, or a little slow. You're more than welcome to let me know if other people have mentioned it, or if you disagree with me in the comment section. As I said earlier, this might be the only Seahawks-related content that I'm able to put out over the weekend. Super busy schedule for me, so if you enjoyed it, please let me know in the comment section, with a comment, and or please try to like the video. And finally, if you think other Seahawks fans would enjoy this film study look at the Klint Kubiak offense in Week 4, the 23-20 win over the Cardinals, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach. Appreciate you guys' time.